So, have you ever really stopped to think about what keeps our society from, just falling apart? What's the invisible glue holding everything together so things are, well, fair? The answer is this powerful and honestly often misunderstood system that's all about order, the judicial government. To really wrap your head around this, let's do a little thought experiment. Just for a second, picture a school with absolutely zero rules. None. No bell schedule, no teachers in charge, no consequences for anything. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want. Sounds kind of fun at first, right? Total freedom.
But let's be real, it wouldn't take long for things to get completely chaotic. People could get hurt, showing up on time. Yeah, right, forget about it. Your stuff might go missing. And maybe worst of all, in the one place that's actually for learning, pretty much no real learning would get done.
And that, in a nutshell, is the whole point. Without rules, you just get chaos. So, just like a school needs some basic rules to work, an entire country needs a solid framework of laws to keep things orderly, to protect people, and to make sure we can all live together peacefully.
Okay, so if chaos is the big problem, what's the solution? Well, it's a system designed specifically to handle our laws and stop that kind of breakdown. We call it the judicial government.
So what is it exactly? Think of it like this. It's a whole system of courts and judges that was created to help a country manage its laws effectively. And that word effectively is so important. I mean, it's one thing to just write down a bunch of laws. It's something else entirely to make sure those laws are actually applied fairly to every single person.
So how does it pull off such a huge task? Well, it really boils down to three main jobs. First, it has to explain what the laws actually mean, because legal stuff can get super complicated. Second, it's got to make sure those laws are used fairly for everyone, no matter who you are. And third, and this one is maybe the most important, it acts as the ultimate guardian of our rights as citizens.
So how does this all work in the real world? To get it, we need to meet the key players and see the places where everything goes down. Right at the heart of the whole system, you have the judge. This is a public official who is an expert in the law, and their main job is to be a totally impartial referee. They listen to all sides of a legal argument, what we call a case, and then they make the final call.
Now, of course, most of us aren't legal experts, and that's where lawyers come in. A lawyer is a professional who represents people or groups in court. They use their knowledge of the law to build an argument and present that case to the judge.
And where does all of this happen? In a court. The court is the official place where judges, lawyers, and citizens all come together to have these cases heard. It's basically the arena where justice is supposed to happen.
Okay, so we've got judges, lawyers, and courts. But let's bring this back home for a second. Why should any of this actually matter to you? Well, the answer is huge. It's all about protecting your rights. And this is just so crucial. If you ever feel like you've been treated unfairly by another person, by a big company, or even by the government itself, the judicial system is where you can go. It's the place you can turn to have a neutral judge listen to your side of the story and protect your rights.
So what kind of rights are we even talking about here? We're talking about the really basic, fundamental freedoms that everyone should have. Things like the right to get an education, the right to work for a living, and the right to own your own property. The judicial system is the backstop that's there to make sure no one can just take those things away from you.
Now, protecting rights is one side of the coin, but what about the other side? What happens when someone deliberately breaks a law and threatens the safety or the rights of other people?
Well, when a judge decides that a law has definitely been broken, they can impose a penalty. That's just the official word for a punishment. And these consequences aren't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal.
Depending on how serious the situation is, a judge has a few different tools in their toolbox. They could order someone to pay a fine, that's money, or they could order community service, which is work that helps out the community, or, for the most serious crimes, they can order imprisonment, which means serving time in jail or prison.
And that decision a judge makes, it carries a ton of weight. Imposing these penalties is how the system makes sure our laws are actually respected. It's what gives the rules some teeth and ensures that, at the end of the day, justice is served. So we've been focusing a lot on the judicial branch. But here's a really critical point. It doesn't work alone. It's not supposed to. To keep any one group from getting way too powerful, it was designed as just one part of a carefully balanced three-part system.
The judicial branch is basically on a team with two other major players. You've got the legislative branch, they're the ones who make the laws, and the executive branch, they're the ones who enforce the laws. The judicial branch has the super important job of interpreting the laws, and they all keep each other in check.
And what's the ultimate goal of this whole setup? It's to create a government that's both fair and that actually works. The kind of government that lets all of us, as citizens, live in a society that is safe and just.
Which kind of brings us to our last thought here, and a question I want to leave you with. We've talked a lot about how this system is supposed to create a just society, but what does that phrase actually mean to you? In your perfect world, what does fairness and justice really look like? It's a pretty big question, and definitely one worth thinking about.